Alrighty, guys, this week's Just the Tip. It comes from a listener down in New Jersey. And the question is a really, really good one. When we transition from winter into spring up north, what's actually coming to life? And here's the key. This isn't just about bass waking up. This is about the entire lake turning back on. First, for a little bit of quick context, in northern fisheries, whether you're in the northern mid-Atlantic, New England, the Midwest, or even parts of the Rockies, winter is basically a hard reset. You got cold water, reduced oxygen movement, limited light, minimal metabolism. Fish, they don't stop living, but everything slows way down. Spring isn't a light switch. Think of it more as a chain reaction. The first thing that's going to wake up is the micro life. The best part of waking up ain't that Folgers bullshit or even coffee, period. It's nature. The first thing that comes back to life isn't the fish, or definitely not the predators. It's microscopic life. We're talking about plankton, algae, zooplankton. As daylight starts increasing and surface temperatures creep into the upper 30s and the 40s, these are the organisms that start reproducing again. And that might not sound very exciting, but this is the very foundation of everything. No plankton means no bait, and no bait means you got no predators. Next up, it's the bugs and the bottom life. Mayflies, midge larvae, bloodworms, scuds, yes, and crawfish too. Crawfish, they don't go full send yet, but they do start moving around during warm afternoons, especially found on mud flats or rock transitions. Shallow, dark bottom areas. This is why early spring bites often feel like, man, they're just picking it up. And then once the bugs and plankton come alive, the baitfish are soon to follow. And depending on your region, that could be shiners, it could be perch, it could be young of the year panfish, early bluegill movement. They're not really rushing the bank, they're sliding. North-facing coves are a good spot to look at. Shallow pockets protected from the wind. Areas that warm first, not necessarily fastest. And what bass are doing is really the big question. It's all about the bass. In early spring, they're not hunting aggressively. What they're doing is repositioning. And here's how they're doing it. They're leaving their true wintering holes. They're going to stage on those first breaks, sitting near access to shallow water, not necessarily up in that shallow water. Their metabolism is increasing and climbing, but they're still conserving energy, waiting for easy meals. And that's why jerkbaits work so well. It's why finesse jigs shine and slow rolled moving presentations will get crushed. Here's the real just the tip. Their big takeaway, if you will. Spring isn't really about temperature alone. It's about the biology too. Every move fish make is tied to light, food availability, oxygen, and safety. If you're fishing like it's spring, but the lake isn't, or the lake hasn't biologically turned on just yet, you're just a little bit too early. If you match what part of the food chain is waking up at that time, then you're dangerous. So whether you're in Jersey, up here in New England, you're in the Midwest, or anywhere else that sees ice, don't ask, are bass shallow yet? Just ask, what just came back to life and who's eating it? That's how you stay ahead of the curve. Nature, baby. It's what it's all about. It's what it's all about. We have often spoken about different spawn sequences, like cold weather fish, cold water fish, like, perch and your chain toothy bastards, like your pike and your chain pickerel and stuff. They get a little bit more active at different parts of the year. But really, that's the foundation. Like that for your typical bass angler, like that ramp up into literally life in that ecosystem is what's going to start, making things kind of take off for you in the spring. What do you think, Joe? You got anything you want to add to this?
I got a really bad grade in science all through school and college. So
Fair enough.
I don't have much to say here,
Fair
but
enough.
no, it's this is something I try to. People don't take the science of fish. All right, let me back this up.
Mm-hmm.
Serious anglers don't take the science of fish and their patterns and their life cycles and their behavior is serious enough.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. For a lot of folks, it's like, oh, it's pre-spawn, spawn, summer, and then fall. Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Where I have read what they call the holy grail of fishing literature.
Yep.
Knowing bass. And it was very eye-opening for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of the shit you're talking about is in there. Mm-hmm. Just understanding that behavior because guess what Bobby and I are dealing with is not going to be what John's dealing with. It's not going to be what Javi's dealing with. It's not going to be what Todd's dealing with. You have to get to know your region, your area. You have to know your bait fish. You have to because there's several different stages of the bait fish. Like for us, for bass, we have the plankton that the bait fish eat. But then the bait fish are eaten by the bluegills and the bass as well as the perch. But the bass will eat the bluegills and the perch, and the shiners and the fall fish, and it just keeps going. So it's that that life cycle there, and what they call it, was it a predator cycle or whatever? I'm cooked. I've already had 2 big glasses of whiskey, so
that's all right.
But anyway, yeah, dude, it's do yourself a favor if you want to get. It's one thing to watch and have the idea of like, ooh, this bait does that. This bait does this. This bait is better for this. None of that shit matters.
Yeah.
If you don't understand the science,
the food chain.
The food chain or how your waterways work. Because guess what, Bobby? The Connecticut River works different than Lake Wickabog.
100% it does. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
You know what I mean? So you have to understand. Do yourself. I'm not saying go and do all this crazy research in this and biology on the fish, but do a little bit of research into the science of bass. Trust me on this. It super opened my eyes over this winter.
Yep.
Recent. And I will say this, the shit that I've read, especially like reading this book and taking the notes I've taken, this upcoming fishing season is going to be different from any other one I've ever had.
That's awesome. I'm stoked.
And because of like kind of looking into, because it's, you get into you consistently get into the patterns of, oh, I'm going to fish this dock. I'm going to fish this grass. I'm going to fish this laydown. I'm going to fish this overhang, and you just get into that repetitive cycle.
Oh yeah.
And, but with the biometric or the temperature of the water, the weather, the barometer, yeah, cool. That's what everyone fishes, is that overhang or that structure or that laydown. But there's a reason why that fish actually might be hanging deep in the middle of that lake right now.
It's true,
because of something going on with the weather or the water or whatnot. So it's do a little bit of research.
And there's definitely like environmental things to pay attention to as well. Like it's one thing for the biology, but like we've said it on the show forever, like the northwest corner is going to be your warmest water. It's going to be the spot where things are going to warm up the first. And there are going to be things that are going to change that. Like if you've got a stream that feeds in the northwest corner, that's going to cool that down. That might not be, or you might have something in an area where you've got a bunch of rocks and those rocks are holding more sunlight. Like they might not be getting it right away, but long term they might be. They might be holding more heat. So fish might kind of like gravitate a little bit toward that. Jay Manning says phytoplankton, bitches. And then John Hagan says lots of minnow species, chubs, and different species of small suckers all move into spawning mode in March and early April. And that attracts predators as well. 100%. And then Jay Manning goes, where's my phytoplankton finesse bait? John Higgins chimes in, says, I find big flatheads that are close to sandbars where suckers gather to spawn in the spring. And I mean, it just makes sense. It's like a buffet. All of this young bait is there, and this forage is all, gathering in this one area. It makes perfect sense. I think Jay Manning says a good YouTube deep cut is this guy from The Nature of Fishing. I think I've talked about him before. He covers a lot of this stuff.
I think so.
And he's a very, very interesting guy. Jay also says, I find that looking for big batches of hatching flies on the surface is a good hack in the spring, 100%, especially if there are trout, I would say, in that body of water that you're fishing, because like when they stock trout, sometimes they stock trout and they're just a little bit on the small side. Those are bass candy. Like they're just going to eat them up. Speaking of like different, organisms in a body of water, it was only like this year. I was always under the belief that like basically after a certain temperature, crawfish went dormant. Like they didn't necessarily like hibernate, but like they were not to be seen. Like they were buried way underground. And I think it might have been Binya actually had sent me some video ice fishing, and he's got an underwater camera, and there's crayfish, and they're not very active. They're tight on the bottom, but you can see them moving around, like circling around. And there's a bunch of perch and stuff swimming around nearby. It was kind of crazy to see. Fishing in the Sticks says, I heard the fuzzy baits represent plankton, and the bass eat them as fry, but when they get big, they don't have them. Then you drop a big plankton-looking bait. They're like, oh, shit. I could see that. In fact, I have some fuzzy dice baits that I am looking to fool around with that I want to tinker with, like some nail weights and some Nico weights.
He's right. That is the science behind those things.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think that's 100%. Like it's just something to pay attention to. Another thing, like honestly, like fishing with like trout magnets, those wicked tiny jigs. I mean, if I got to be totally honest with you,
Pig Jigs already has a bunch of fucking amazing baits
for exactly that stuff, like the really small forage, and like if you can, if you, I'll give you this tip. Maybe you're, throwing some really, really tiny stuff and you're finding that there's these small perch all over the place. Throw a perch jerkbait. You know what I mean? Imitate that small predator, and it's a food chain. Just go ahead and take it up. This was a great question. This one came in. This was, I think, like the week before last, and I was like, that is a good question. In fact, it was in Pig Nation, in that group where I had asked a bunch of them. I was like, what do you guys want to know? And it was one of our regular listeners in there that was like, I got a good one for you. I was like, that's a freaking great one, dude. Yeah. That's a really good question. That was a great
question. It's good to know that someone's head is there.
Yeah.
In the science of the fishing.
100%. They're like, what?
I completely, once I started looking into that, yep. I completely opened my eyes to a different aspect of fishing.
It's so crazy because like fishing is, it's, I've said this like from the beginning of the show, really. Fishing in whatever species you're fishing for, it's one part science meets one part art. You know what I mean? And like, there's something magical that happens there that makes it really, really unique. But I am excited for this because this is now 2 weeks in a row we've had this segment. So let's buckle up. I'm interested to know how this all goes down for Joe.
It's time to go broke on the boat. Joe and Bobby's guide to fishing your funds away.
I am never going to financially recover from this.